Hey, want to know how to optimize your automation CI/CD pipelines and DevOps and save money doing it? If so, you're in luck because today we'll speak about Gaurav Mittal. If you don't know, Gaurav is a cybersecurity, data science, and IT expert with over 2 decades of experience leading high-performing teams in cloud computing, machine learning, and data security. He's also a thought leader in AI and automation and has published numerous articles on optimizing ML deployment, security email communications, and automating workflows, and a bunch more. He's also recognized with multiple industry awards and has an AWS certified cloud practitioner and a Lean Six Sigma certification professional. You don't want to miss this episode? Check it out. Hey, Gaurav, welcome back to the Guild.
Yeah, hi Joe. Thank you for having me again. It's wonderful to catch you again, and it's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
Absolutely. So you're like a jack of all trades. So why is this topic top of mind now? Like how to make DevOps more cost effective?
So, like whether you are working as an automation engineer, you are a security professional, you are AI ML, DevOps is everywhere. Because ultimately you have to build the pipelines. Everyone loves to click one button and make sure whatever they are coding, it's gone. Okay. They don't want any hassle of deploying it again and again. And like IT professionals today, they are working on like branches. So 10 people, they have their own branch. They want to push the code to the main branch. They want to get it deployed as soon as it's done, so that like all the checks, all the automation tests, they are being triggered automatically. So DevOps is everywhere. So like that's the reason I also learned it. I implemented in my organization and I brought it up this topic. So hopefully like I'm happy to share my knowledge on this.
Love it. And actually you wrote a really cool article on curtailing software automation to licensing costs by curbing licensing needs, which I'll have a link for down below. But let's dive in a little bit about that. What's up with licensing needs? What's the roadblock there?
Yeah, so most of the product-based companies, they love to procure licensed tools. So for example, like when it comes to automation, okay, like there are different engineers working in different kind of domains. Some engineers, they are deployed in Salesforce, others are in web, some are in data. Each of these domains, they are using different language. So ultimately, you will end up in hiring automation engineers who are expert in this language. Instead of that, the best way, what I have seen, the trend, what organizations they are rooting towards is procure a licensed automation tool. The problem is you have procured a licensed tool, you are paying for it, but licenses are limited. Most of the automation engineers, they are sitting at the offshore. Now at onshore, to how many folks you will provide this license? So the best outcome is implement a CI/CD pipeline, which will sit on top of this license tool. The advantage is let automation engineers, they write the test cases, but anyone, you are giving the flexibility to trigger the licensed automation tools through CI/CD tool. So that's the main benefit of it. Like how you can curtail the uses of license tool. Just make like a CI/CD tool, a CI/CD pipeline implemented, which is going to trigger the automation tool, and hence like product owner or like managers or anyone, they can trigger the automation test tool. No need to have license.
Now, so when I look at the article, I think you mentioned something about using GitHub Actions to help with this. How does GitHub Actions help?
Yeah, that's the second thing which I want to touch. Actually, there are several CI/CD tools in the market. Okay, like for example, we have Jenkins, we have GitSet, we have Copado. For different domains, we have different, and GitHub Actions, GitLab. So when I was supposed to like implement a pipeline, I have done a research and ultimately narrow it down to Jenkins and GitHub Actions. So Jenkins, everyone knows it, they love it because it has a very nice UI, and it's quite easy to use. You have to just write Jenkins file, and like you can create the jobs. If there are some existing jobs, you just copy it. So manage Jenkins is quite easy. The problem is Jenkins is still paid because you need to pay the server cost, which is not much, but you have to bear for it. And second drawback is like there is a quarterly, you need to rotate the security keys, which is again a pain point. But the benefit with the GitHub Actions is it is open source. And secondly, if the developers they are using GitHub, they are very much familiar with the GitHub Actions. There is no learning involved. There is no license, nothing. So you implement GitHub Actions, which will trigger your GitHub repo, and your pipeline is implemented. Other main advantage is like in most of the companies, this GitHub is being maintained by their security team. So if in contrast to like Jenkins is calling your automation test tool, you are making an API call. Okay, so there is some sort of permissions issue may arise. With GitHub Actions, it is all internal. Your security team, they are handling GitHub Actions, they are handling GitHub repositories. No need to worry about any permission issue. It is quite straightforward. So GitHub Actions is very, winner. You can, it's easy to implement. Developers, they already know it. QA, they were writing Jenkins file. Here they have to write a YML script, and you can invoke your licensed automation tool.
All right. So I'm not sure if I'm following all along. Say I have a paid vendor tool that has licensing.
Yes.
I have 10 licenses, and I have a team of 30.
Correct.
Is it because it's running in CI, it's an ephemeral environment, and only uses that licensing while it's up? Or like how does it actually save or help optimize license usage?
Yeah. So like you said, like suppose there is a 30 team
maybe
members.
I'm not following along.
Yeah. So like we have 30 team members and only 10 licenses are available. Okay. You have given those 10 license of automation tool to automation engineers. Now tomorrow when rest 20, they want to execute the automation test, how they will execute. They have to ask those 10 guys, hey, can you please trigger this particular set of tests? Instead of that, if you are building a CI pipeline, which is capable of invoking these automation tests, you don't need to ask anyone. You have the flexibility. So this problem is very helpful when you have offshore and onshore, because most of the license they goes to offshore guys. They are working there, and because of the billing reasons, they are being the automation scripts they are being developed there. But at onshore, like in our time, if you want to execute those tests, you don't want any dependency for that. Just make a CI pipeline which is invoking this automation test, and anyone can execute them. No need of license.
Very cool. So, you keep mentioning offshore, onshore teams. Are there any other ways you can help cut costs besides this approach?
Yeah, like even within one team only, like the license, they are quite expensive. Suppose your team sits only at onshore and there are 2 QA resources. Instead of asking every time, like, okay, can you execute them? Or even if they are scheduling, but you want to run, like there was a production incident and now you want to, for a sanity check, you want to run automation tests. So anyone should be capable to trigger it at any time. So it's not only about onshore or offshore. The point here is about the flexibility. Who can trigger the automation test? And for that, a CI pipeline is actually very helpful.
Nice. So what are some other benefits? It sounds like, once again, you get rid of the manual oversight of the UI test executions because the CI pipeline takes care of it for you.
Yeah,
without you having to monitor it. Am I understanding that?
Yeah. So yes, that is another advantage. What happens, like you are running your UI web application automation test, and when the tests are running, sometimes what happens, there are some tools which capture your screen. So what I'm trying to say, you cannot do anything else. The QA has to just sit like this and have to watch the execution. But when you execute them through like a CI tool generally you need to provide a runner. Runner is like a virtual machine, and CI tool will execute the test on this virtual machines. So we are giving the flexibility to the QA or anyone else who has triggered the automation test to do his or her own work, and automation tests, they are being triggered on another virtual machine. So what happens like in today's world, we are giving AWS EC2 instance as a virtual machine. So when the tests are executing based on the type of EC2 instance you have given, automation tests will be executed there, and the QA they can do their own work. So this is another advantage.
Are there any tools where this wouldn't work? I would think sometimes companies get kind of sneaky with their licensing, like you can't run it in CI/CD. I don't know. Are there any kind of limitations with this approach?
Limitations with this approach with CI, I have always seen advantages. The limitation is like you need to be thorough somewhere like you need to have knowledge. Another is like what kind of automation test you want to execute. So how to configure like your you need to sometimes customize your automation framework accordingly to your like how you are going to set it up in a CI/CD tool. Because like, okay, from your automation tool you can choose, okay, 10 tests you can execute, but if you want to execute from this CI/CD tool, you need to club them in some category. So for that you need to customize your automation framework. That is one limitation. Basically learning is involved. That is something is there. And again, they like you are integrating the CI/CD tool with the automation test. So that integration, like as I mentioned, like we are calling APIs. So this CI/CD tool is going to invoke your automation framework. Maybe there are some firewall issues. GHA is going to invoke the GitHub repository only, so it's quite easy. There is no firewall constraints are there.
So why wouldn't everyone do this? Is it hard to set up? Is there a limitation? Is it just people that don't know? Hey, I could probably save doing it this way.
Yeah, so that's the point. Like that's the advantage of CI, and that's what I want to propagate. Like license is something which every companies they are struggling in today's world. Everyone is running after the budget, cost cutting, but this is a very nice way, and there are free open source this CI/CD tools available like GHA. So I want to like CI/CD tools. They are never free because they require a runner machine, and that runner actually procures some cost. But I have found a solution for that also. So for example, like automation engineers, they are using a license tool which is quite heavy. Sometimes company they provide a virtual machine like Windows 365 to the QA engineers that you install your automation tool on this machine. Okay. So that you can save the memory of your local machine for the regular work, like manual testing or whatever you are doing. From GHA, you can configure Windows 365 machine as the runner. So what we are trying to do, we are doubling the usage of this Windows 365 machine. We have installed the tool, automation tool on this Windows 365, as well as we are also using it as a runner. So ultimately, GHA is totally free of cost. GHA is invoking the machine which is already available there in the organization. You are not using any AWS EC2 instance or launching any other like virtual machine at any runtime. You are using which is already being provided to you.
Nice. And once again, I believe this is all in the article that I'll have a link for down below. So this also helps with AWS instances, I assume, as well.
Yeah, it will help. Like if like you have already procured any AWS EC2 instance for 24/7, but there is some bandwidth you are not using it, then why not to use it? The whole idea here is like the CI/CD tool requires a runner. Instead of launching a runner at runtime, asking AWS to provide a new EC2 instance, first check within the organization if there is already existing virtual machine which you can use. Right? It will save a lot of money for the company. That is the main. I have put the calculation also, like what I was able to save.
What percentage? You don't have to give the amount, Bob. What was the percentage of that you saved?
So percentage depends on the test, but like with comparing to EC2 instance versus like using your virtual machine, existing machine, it's zero. Like with the existing machine, it's already there. You are not paying anything. With EC2 instance, like it depends on number of tests. Like you are executing 500 tests, and like EC2 instance was launched for 4 hours. So for 4 hours, based on the type of EC2 instance, you were paying suppose $50. Now it is zero for one execution. So monthly executions by 10 teams, you can calculate, like it's a huge saving. It's an innovation actually. We are not invoking outside virtual machines. We are trying to use what is already being provided to us.
Very cool. So once again, I guess I'm scanning through the article. I think you mentioned other things you can incorporate in your CI pipelines that people probably
Yes.
don't take advantage of. I think you mentioned SonarQube and CodeQL.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I have actually built the architecture for data projects. And when the developers, they are pushing the code, what I have found, like they were directly once they were like, there are 10 members from their local branch, they have pushed it to main, and from main they were directly pushing it to the production. So this is not a good DevOps practice. There are several stages involved. The first stage is like static code analysis. So what happens, like when you are writing the code, maybe the code is not in a good shape. There could be a data leakage, or there are some security vulnerabilities which hackers, they can hack the code and they can find it. For example, like I have seen, it's very common when the developers, they are writing the code, they want to print what is a token, JWT token value, or what is the password, or what is the username password. They are printing those secret features which they should not be print, or that should not be go outside. Outside, I am saying, because again, like when you are writing a web application, there are some external tools which are being used for logging. So ultimately, you are passing this information to third-party tools, which you should be worried of. So how to catch this? For this, we have static code analysis. There are several tools available. SonarQube is there, CodeQL is there. CodeQL is a very heavy tool, but it's a very nice tool for catching the security issues. So the first stage should be static code analysis. It is making sure, like it is basically known as code smell. It is checking like your code is in good shape. It can be projected to the outside world with no issues. Once you are done this, the second step is like run the automation test, because you are going to deploy a new feature. When you are deploying it, you have to make sure the existing functionality is not getting impacted. That is still working fine, absolutely. And once your automation tests are being passed, then you should deploy it to production. So this should be the ideal flow from QA to production.
And I would assume with that flow, baking security into the DevOps pipelines,
yes,
without having to rely on, say, really time-consuming security tests, you could save money kind of backhandingly because you're not relying on more.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Even today, like this code editor tools, which developers they are using, they are very smart. They are like using AI, but what I have seen is still there are some security issues which they miss, because these code editor tools, they guide you how to write code better. They cannot see if there are any injection errors. These tools, which are security tools, which I have spoken, you can implement in static code analysis part. These tools, they are expert in checking like if there are any injection errors, there are any null pointer, man in the middle attack could be caused. So they catch these kind of things. Till the time any issue is not happening, everyone is happy. But sometimes like CrowdStrike issue happened, everything come on a halt. So it's better to secure your code before you push it to production.
Absolutely. So I guess, you work with a lot of different tools, and a lot of companies I know, they have a lot of licenses for a lot of different tools they don't necessarily use or need, or they have duplicates of everything. Do you have like a framework or a process you recommend to people can go through to say, do I really need this tool? Is it worth having rather than having a nice to have? And I guess that would save money in the long run if they were doing this type of evaluation all the time.
Yeah, so this is one thing even which we try to do, but we were not successful because when we talk about different domains, there are tools which have expertise for this particular domain. For example, like GitHub Actions is very good. It works well for web data, but for Salesforce, there are some other tools like Gearset, Copado, which like developers they want to use for deploying the code. So it's very hard to say like one tool or one framework is best, which can be which can work for all different kind of domains. But depending on the domain, like if you are in a data, like you are working on Python, it's better to use SQL Fluff or Rust as a static code analysis, and use unit testing. Unit testing is one area which I have seen like developers, they don't write it, but it's actually very useful. So these are some common practices, I would say, which everyone should use. Common framework is actually quite tough to say. Common framework or common tools, because different domains have their different needs.
All right. So you mentioned AI briefly. What's the role of AI? Can you use AI now? I know a lot of tools like Kubernetes, the solutions that built on top of it that use AI to, limit resources or be able to read when it should be up and down. Do you see those type of AI solutions helping with bringing costs down?
Yeah, AI. Yes, I can cite you a couple of examples. AI is useful if we talk in terms of soft savings, not hard savings. So I give you a couple of examples. Like in my projects, like any data project or like they are very heavily relied on SQL. And what I did, like I created one agent, SQL optimizer, and like it has given me a wonderful results. For some SQLs, like existing SQL was taking like suppose 25 seconds. The Gen AI generated SQL was taking 7 seconds. So it's like you more than 50% of performance improvement. Okay. On top of it, it will also guide you like why Gen AI is making that change. So for your learning, if you want to enhance your career growth, like this is a good usage of Gen AI. The problem is it comes with its pros and cons. There are a couple of problems. One, Gen AI has a limitation on token. Like for example, it cannot work uh, more than 500, 600 lines of SQL. And secondly, it's AI. Okay. AI has a particular confidence level of 80% or 90%, but not 100%. One existing SQL was giving you 100 rows. The new SQL is giving you 90 rows. Okay. It completely changed, like instead of improvement, it changed the joins or anything. So you need to be careful. What I'm trying to say, like AI is good to learn and check the performance, but you cannot blindly use it in the to deploy it into the production. Another example I talked about are these tools, security scan tools, like CodeQL and SonarQube are there. With Gen AI also, like you have written your code, you can ask, can you provide me any security scans on this? And it can give you the output. Like if there is some hacking, hackers can crack the codes and then how you can write it in a better way. So you can modify your code. So these are some couple of examples. AI comes into the picture. And one big example is whether it's automation or it's a development, people are using it to analyze the production logs, like where the error is occurring. So it helps you to pinpoint the location from which code line the issue might be occurring. So basically trying to save some time for you. It's all falls under soft savings.
Yeah. So is that leveraging open telemetry with the AI to be able to let you know that it failed in production and what line of code it came from?
So production logs, like whatever tools you guys like teams are using, for example, like in Kibana or anywhere, and or like in your local, and you want to pinpoint like, okay, from where, from which function this error could be pointing out. So AI can help you in text extraction. Like, okay, this error could be because of this. If like like there are thousands of files which are getting generated on daily basis. It's difficult to manually parse, but with AI you can do it a little faster, and it can give you some hint like, okay, yeah, maybe this part is filling.
So are there any open source AI type of tooling you can use in your CI/CD pipelines, or is these all probably paid vendor-based solutions?
No. So there are several open source like AI I have used. I have not used in my DevOps pipeline, but all the work what I have done in AI, the models I've used, they all are open source. So for example, like I have spoken about text extraction. So NLP is there, natural language processing, and like it's open source. We can write a model around it. We can figure it out like, okay, we can do the text analysis, we can do sentiment analysis. Then for image classification, like, okay, what kind of image it is, we can use deep learning ML models like Keras, TensorFlow. These are open libraries, we can use them. So but I have not used them yet in the DevOps pipeline.
All right, Gaurav, before we go, is there one piece of actual advice you can give to someone to help them with their DevOps automation testing efforts? And what's the best way to find or contact you?
Yeah, so my suggestion will be like right now, like penetration testing is there, which is a good area, and in the DevOps we should implement it by using this security tools. As a QA, we all love to find defects, and this is one nice niche area I would say I have found, like where I am shining and giving back to the my company, like, okay, yeah, these are the issues, we should take a look over it. So for your learning, for your visibility, try to use security scans in the pipeline. This will be very helpful for you as well as for the company. And yes, you can reach out to me at my email address, gauravmittal1985@gmail.com.
Thanks again for your automation awesomeness. For links to everything of value we covered in this episode, head on over to testguild.com/A541. And if the show has helped you in any way, why not rate it and review it in iTunes? Reviews really help in the rankings of the show, and I read each and every one of them. So that's it for this episode of the TestGuild Automation Podcast. I'm Joe, and my mission is to help you succeed with creating end-to-end, full-stack automation awesomeness. As always, test everything and keep the good. Cheers. Hey, thank you for tuning in. It's incredible to connect with close to 400,000 followers across all our platforms and over 40,000 email subscribers who are at the forefront of automation, testing, and DevOps. If you haven't yet, join our vibrant community at testguild.com, where you become part of our elite circle driving innovation in software testing and automation. And if you're a tool provider or have a service looking to empower our guild with solutions that elevate skills and tackle real-world challenges, we're excited to collaborate. Visit testguild.info to explore how we can create transformative experiences together. Let's push the boundaries of what we can achieve.
The TestGuild Automation Testing Podcast. With flutes and lyres the bards began their song. A tune of knowledge, a melody of code. Through the air it spread like wildfire through the land, guiding testers, showing the secrets to behold.